If you're wondering why I'm dashing and diving from fruit, if you're wondering why I'm looking battered and bruised, make sure you check out the last video. And to those who did, I'm much appreciated for sparing me, sparing my soul, forgiving me for my sins, allowing me to do this preview. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Make sure you smash up the likes if you haven't already and subscribe if you are new. Aston Villa versus Chelsea preview. And we're going to get straight into it. We're going to get stuck in, get our hands dirty, because Pochettino certainly did. This press conference went off, set people down a path of no return. I mean, this guy, he came out fighting. But, you know, I've said it before, when managers get to a point of pressure, where they get to a point of really dead man walking, no return, end of the season will be what will be, probably. They start to say things that are irrational. They start to say things that don't make sense. They start to lose their composure. And I think that's kind of what happened here, because the maths is not mathing. So we'll get to it. But he started off with some damage control, basically trying to repair the wreckage of the weekend. We're talking Chilwell.
What do you think was the difference between the two sides today?
I think they probably showed like they wanted it more. You know, of course we do want it, but they probably showed it a little bit more on the pitch. And yeah, 50-50s, running more. You know, there's no excuses. I think as soon as they scored the first goal, they pretty much kind of dominated the rest of the game. So yeah, we have to look at ourselves.
We saw the video. It's up on the screen. We know what he said, but Pochettino tried to change that, or at least shield him, cover him, look after him. He's the captain. The captain has his own choice of words. He should stand by that. There's a lack of accountability across the board. And everybody's always trying to look after each other and cover each other's mistakes and try and twist it into something different. When really, as a captain against Liverpool, not attending to the mascot, as a captain, his post-match interview wasn't very inspiring. It wasn't very authentic. It just felt very flat, if I'm completely honest. It felt flat. It didn't feel like a captain's speech. It didn't sound like a rallying cry. It didn't sound like a player that was going to really drag this team out of the trenches. And that's exactly how the manager sounds, to be quite frank. The manager sounds repetitive, sometimes borderline nonsensical. Everybody is just trying to clean up after someone else's mess, even when really there's no need to. Just be transparent, just be honest. So a lack of accountability across the board, from the directors to the manager to the players. We've seen that, and it's spread throughout the football club. Then he went on to obviously do damage control on the Silva-Bella saga. Of course, he said he spoke to Silva privately. They've dealt with the situation behind the scenes. Then damage limitation on the comments of the squad or the group not being good enough, wanting to clarify that and say that he meant for that match against Wolves, not in totality. And then he really lashed out with his comments on basically the points tally from last season in comparison to this. Now, there's a graphic that's going around. It doesn't look too pretty. And Pochettino, he had some choice words. He said, I didn't finish 12th last season. Chelsea did. It was a different squad to last year. Many changes. If you want to compare to damage us, to compare things, I think is impossible. You can compare to try to damage if you want to make a problem, but don't analyze and put all of the circumstances. And he goes on to say, I don't think that before was better or worse. It's difficult to compare because we are in another project. This kind of image has circulated, the comparison, the lack of improvement. What squad do you believe was better? Which manager had it more difficult? It's up for you to debate. For me, the fans aren't going to want to hear that we are behind Wolves because it's a different project. Wolves that sacked their manager, Wolves that lost their manager more so and had to replace him just before the season started, were now behind them in the table, sitting in 11th. There is no project, no process that allows for such embarrassment, allows for such drop-off. And this is why time and trust is earned, not given, because no one wants to continue on a downward trajectory and spiral just for the sheer reasoning of patience or time. Time is a very fickle thing. Time is ever moving, ever present. It's not something that you just give. It's not something that you just get. It's not something that you just waste. It's not something that you just allow to go on and on. Sometimes change is necessary. And I already believe it is necessary. I've said it already in my previous videos. I feel like the director's got to come in now. I feel like a new director of football has to come in and assess the situation to the end of the season at a bare minimum, because the people currently running the show are making a circus of the club. But we move. He then went on to joke about the inconsistencies, saying, football is my passion, not my job. To be focused on playing football, you need to be free in your mind. You can't let it affect you because of the stock market in New York or Tokyo or the weather. I don't know. I don't know where, because the farms cannot grow the cereals. This is why I keep my hair like this. It's because I do, brother, what the let me just stop right here. What? You can read the rest of that yourselves. What the hell is my brother, not even my brother anymore. What is this man waffling about? What is this man talking about? This is borderline insanity. I don't know what type of analogy he's trying to cook up. I don't know if he's talking about Cocoa Pops, Frosties, Rice Krispies. I don't know if he's talking about farm in Ireland where I used to live nearby, cows, horses. I don't know what's going on. This brother is descending into insanity. It is insane to watch. It is insane to read. I'm trying to put the pieces together of what he could possibly mean. I think he's trying to talk about the crops in the back end of this, talk about the lack of rain, the lack of foundations, the lack of growth, the lack of conditions to grow, something like that. But what a crazy way to get to the point. And this is what happens when the pressure cooker, when the microscope, when all eyes are on you, your staff, your team, your club, people start to say crazy things. They start to say crazy things. They start to waffle. He then goes on to say that Chelsea, and this is what really takes the cake. This is what really takes the piss, this comment right here. Urges Chelsea fans to see that Chelsea's project needs time and clear leadership, obviously referencing Manchester City and Liverpool with Pep and Klopp. Goes on to say, when the expectation is different to the reality, it's difficult. When we lost to Liverpool, it was a massive fail. Chelsea are so bad. When Liverpool lost to Arsenal, I heard nothing. It was a similar result. This irks me. This is where I'm not smiling anymore. This is where the preview is going to go. It's going to go poor. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Chelsea and Liverpool do not belong in the same sentence in terms of a comparison. If you want to compare the treatment between the two clubs on the back of a result, take a look at the league table. Liverpool 2 defeats, one which was a robbery with a goal that stood at, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and that Arsenal one was a poor performance. We, on the other hand, are 11th behind Wolves. You could even say 10th at the time of losing to Liverpool, having an absolutely horrendous season in the league again. There's a different feel. There's a different record. There's a different tolerance. There's a different expectation and standard at Liverpool. They are having a great season. They are in a title race. They can afford to have a bad game and chalk it off. We can't, because we have lost many games. It is consecutive. It is clear. It is consistent. So you're not going to get the same reaction. I thought that would be obvious, Poch. We move on to speak on to the comparison between the projects. Liverpool's, City's, Chelsea's. If you're going to compare time as a measurement for all clubs, for all managers, please compare every factor, every single situation. At the beginning of Liverpool, Edwards and Klopp partnership, they didn't run and pull in different directions. They had a culture, a consistency at the club of everybody moving in the same direction in terms of recruitment. He wasn't ignoring his manager's needs and potentially wishes in terms of I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. They were actually recruiting with balance. They were recruiting with data, but they wasn't recruiting every single player 21, 20, 19, 18 years old. They weren't buying Strasbourg before they'd even built Liverpool back up, which is what we're doing. Looking at a multi-club model before our club is actually healed, is actually set, is actually secure. Manchester City, Tiki, Pep, singing from the same song sheet. Not like you and your directors, Poch. They're trying to sell Captain Gallagher. They're trying to basically actually make your squad worse from the beginning of January to the end. You've lost young Harry Kane, Armando Broja. You've lost Ian Maatson, a left back who could have played left wing back for you in a potential game today where you're going to potentially play a free at the back, but you didn't want to use him. And they replaced those players with none. And I'm going to get onto the quote or the report from yesterday that said you wanted a left back or a striker. Does that sound like the same situation to what those clubs started with? 1 billion spent. Did either of these clubs that you mentioned, were they 11th at any point? Back-to-back seasons? I don't think so. So, cool, you don't want to take responsibility for the first season of this ownership. You don't have to. You weren't involved. But this season, you do have to. And you're 11th. And that is not what these clubs were on. They weren't on that smoke. They were on some serious shit. And to try and almost manipulate and delude the people into thinking that we should think that we're on the same trajectory and course as those clubs is stupid. It's just nonsensical. It doesn't make any. It's just ridiculous. There's no comparison, my brother. So we're not brothers. Sorry. So let's just put that to the side. Let's just stop that comparison. It's just best for everyone if we stop that comparison. Let's move on. So the team, is it going to be a back three? Is it going to be a back four? Now, for me, with the way we're getting destroyed on 2v1s out wide, with the way that our midfield is completely getting cut through and exposing our centre-backs centrally, and like I said, in wide areas, they're getting pulled out, dragged out, it makes sense to throw in an extra centre-back to just try and solidify the whole structure. Throw an extra centre-back, protect Silva in the middle, allow those wide centre-backs to double up with the wing backs if need be in those areas, and allow some extra protection for the centre mids that can't seem to get that consistency together, I guess you could say. That balance in the middle of the park. The swapperoo between Gallagher and Enzo continues. So back three for me, Petrovic in goal, Disasi, Silva, Badiashile, wing backs Gusto and Chilwell. I don't want to play Chilwell. I'd rather play Lewis Hall. I'd rather play Ian Maatson. 2 players in the summer that I said would have a higher potential, higher ceiling than both of our experienced, highly paid left backs, because I think they're technically more gifted in possession. I think they can both go forward, they can cross, they can offer something, and they're young and they can be developed, but they're not here. So Chilwell has to play. He's the only person that can play in that position. Then we move across to the midfield, Enzo and Caicedo for me again. We continue with the chemistry building. And then we go to Palmer and Nkunku and Jackson as the front three. Our wingers are inconsistent. Our wingers are unpredictable and not in a good way. So we may as well not bother play with any wingers. Leave all the wingers on the bench. Play the inside forwards, the 10s, the technical, more intelligent players, in my opinion. But I think he's still going to play the 4 because it's PTSD. I mean, if he changes to a 3, then fair enough for the first time this season. But he played 4 in a pre-season, 4-2-3-1. He's played 4 all season. There was a report, but until I see it, I won't believe it. So I'm going to just leave his predicted team as per usual. And my score prediction is not positive. I'm not optimistic. I'm not confident. I do think we're probably going to lose. But we have the players to compete. We have the players to get a result. We have the players to at least get to penalties. I mean, if you look to the team I've predicted, I think if we maximize everybody in that team, we can compete. We can get something from here. We can come to Villa Park and get a result and go through. I mean, Newcastle won here, but the mood, the trajectory, the feeling, the lemons, the limes, whatever Pochettino is sprinkling, the fact that the directors are still sitting pretty when they shouldn't be. It all leads me to believe that it could go left. And of course, all the briefings and uproar, unrest behind the scenes, who knows what's true and what's fake at this point. Some of it is briefing, some of it is fear-mongering and clicks and engagements and all that foolishness. So all I can sit here and say to you is all we have is hope. And until they take that from us, we better hold on tight to that at the very least. So you let me know in the comments down below, what is your score prediction? What is your team? And what do you think of Pochettino's quotes? Not a great presser, pretty poor one. Lack of accountability from the directors on the recruitment, lack of accountability from the manager on the tactics, on the lack of leadership, on the actions of the team and himself, and a lack of accountability from the players. I mean, Chilwell, Pochettino, either of you could have apologised for leaving the poor mascot on the pitch at Anfield, but you just refuse, or you just forget. I don't know. The culture of the club is in a crisis of itself. So what can I say? We move. Keep the blue flag flying high and all that shabazz. So yeah, big up your damn selves. In a bit, people. Peace.
La 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 la.